Hi, good evening. My name's Ronnie from Equine Voices, and welcome to this evening's interview with Pat Cleveland and her guest, Paula, who shall shortly introduce. So, what I'll do is bring Pat in. She can introduce herself for those of you that haven't met her before. So, I've done a few interviews with Pat, so it should be a ball of energy tonight. Yeah, I shall bring her in now, and she can introduce herself. Hi, Pat.
Hello. How is everybody today? I hope you've had a good day or about to enjoy a good evening wherever you are in the world. I'm Pat Cleveland, and I'm an intuitive horse trainer. I started a long time ago. I was raised with an instinctive love for horses and a gift of feeling as an empath, and also maybe translating telepathic information or physical clues that horses provided over the years. And that has helped me structure an investigation into improving our approaches to horse training so that we can prevent the stress that is creating a lot of distress for both horse and rider. So I started an investigation called the Balanced Horse Project. And I was thinking back, it actually became a registered uh, research, I guess you would say, in 1999. But I had studied a whole bunch of energy and holistic therapies between 1985 and 1999. So I discovered that they weren't doing what I needed them to do as a horse owner and as a horse trainer. So I put them all together and found out what worked and what didn't work. To my amazement, most of them did not satisfy what I needed to have sustainable horses, both for performance and breeding. And so I threw it all out the window and trusted my instincts and started listening to horses. And from there, we have a documented progression of how to improve the body symmetry of horses before we train them, before they're producing offspring, so before they go to the breeding shed. And then also for horses that are currently in work, how can we support them in restoring their center of gravity, their balance point into the center of the body, so that their bodies can maybe restore and come away from all the training problems and stress that they experience in their life. So that's the Balanced Horse Project, and that's just a summary on the surface of what I do.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. And sorry for the bit of the rush introduction.
It's okay.
I'm going to admit to the viewers that I nearly got the time wrong. I was thinking it was 7:30, and I was just sitting down with a cup of tea, and I thought I'll put the computer on, and then I realized it was 7 o'clock, and I was like, holy Moses. So the introduction was very, very quick to get going before Facebook kicked us out because you can only go 10 minutes live. Anyway, 10 minutes late rather. So thank you for your introduction, Pat. And I'm glad it's you because otherwise I'd be really stressed otherwise. Because you know what I'm like. So we've done a few interviews together and you're such a lovely lady and you're just a ball of energy. And I love chatting with you. So this evening we've got a special guest, which is Paula Bosher. I hope I've said that correctly, who's from New Zealand. And I think it's 8 o'clock there. Is that right?
It's in the morning. I
In the
believe
morning.
it's breakfast time for her.
Yeah, so we've got
And
three
it's
times.
Sunday,
I
not
know.
Saturday.
So we've got 3 time zones. We've got the UK time zone, we've got Alabama, USA time zone, and is it the South Islands, New Zealand time zone? So we've got 3 time zones. So if this all goes well, yes. And so Pat's going to introduce Paula in a little while because she's one of her clients. And then we're going to get a perspective from one of Pat's clients on firstly how she become aware of Pat, how it worked with the horse, and what's happening now, which is always interesting. And I know that I've done an interview with you and Cassie's, you've been working with her horses, but sometimes it's nice to get somebody that's not in the business, that's an outsider, that you can, that people can hear from, because, they're coming in blind almost, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's nice. I'll just stop you there. I think it's important because I can see things from my perspective. And I have learned over years that my perspective may not be the common everyday way of looking at life. So to have somebody to translate so it holds meaning for somebody who may be asking questions and not finding answers and go, oh, what is this woman all about? Well, I'm hoping Paula can translate that for you.
Oh, I'm sure she will. And I also want to touch on some of your other things that you do.
Okay.
But so remind me later that you do remote, with your work. When you connect with a horse, you do remote and you connect with them. But I asked you something about a future horse for myself and Toots, a companion for Toots, and you was kind enough to connect. So we'll talk a little bit about that, because that's perfect for somebody that is looking for a horse. And you can have everything, the vets, and you can go the right route, but sometimes you want to go just a little bit more, and you can go deeper and say, okay, this is what's going on. So if that's what you want in your horse to do, then I suggest that you do this, but we can talk about that a little bit later, because that's another amazing thing that I think, that more people should be aware of. So I'm going to bring in Paula. Let's just hope everything stays together. And then she can introduce herself and just explain a little bit about how you met. Okay. Hi, Paula.
Hi, Pat. Hi, Ronnie.
Okay, so I'm going to let you just introduce yourself. Pat, control yourself. I'll let you introduce yourself, Paula. So firstly, would you explain to people, first of all, how you came across Pat and why you was looking for something for your horse? And then you can go into a little more details of the process and what's going on now.
So in lockdown 2020, when all the pandemic broke loose, I already sort of had an inkling of training wasn't really working. So the conventional way, I'm a conventional horse trainer. I only do my own horses. I don't train for anyone else. Don't do that. Sorry, the phone has just had a meltdown.
Don't worry,
Typical.
it's live. That's what happens. Don't worry.
And just I was looking for a new horse, and I'd done a few vet checks on a few horses, and they're all failing. So for one reason or another, and I ended up purchasing a young 4-year-old Irish Andalusian. And so lockdown hit, and I was pottering away with him and thinking, I don't really want to do the conventional stuff again. I've got a young green horse that's had nothing done with it. He came off the side of a hill, and I thought, well, this is a chance to do something different. So, and through various sort of different means and methods, I managed to stumble across Pat on Facebook. And it all started from there, really. And then I went for a deep dive into a rabbit hole that I knew was there, if known as there all along, but it was just massive, bigger than I'd ever expect it to be.
Okay, so for the people that don't know what a rabbit hole is,
Sorry.
do you want to just do a few more details with that?
So the conventional way is, the English, you get them in, you lunge them, you start working with them, you do all that sort of the conventional stuff, whereas this rabbit hole that I've gone down is very more intuitive, and I can't really explain it. It's like the horse tells me what it wants and what it needs to do, but it's not physically in my head. I just look at it and I sort of see what it wants, but it's weird. I can't get my head around it still, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not weird. Don't worry. That's normal. You're amongst normal people. So, and everybody has, I mean, I'm saying that jokingly, but everybody has intuition. And when we're with the horses, we know, but sometimes when we're that close to it, we don't see it because it's not what we've been taught. So we just go with what we're taught. It's only when things come up to you and you start to ask questions and you start to listen a little bit more to the internal you rather than the external, that you start to see things a bit differently. And it is trial and error. It's getting used to it because it's your own language, and it's finding the right people to connect with to help you, which can be quite difficult because you don't. It's not about. So for me, I have to say this, and I'm going to say this. It's not always about saying that somebody else, that's not right, that's not right, that's not right. It's not working. If something's not working and you only get so far, then you look at alternatives. Most people have the good and best intentions, but when you start to ask deeper questions, that's when you get answers and you realize that actually it's bigger than that. There's a lot more to it, and it can be as difficult or as simple as you make it. Now, obviously, Pat's going to describe it completely different to me because she's coming from her work and her knowing. My knowledge is not on Pat's scale. Mine's my own scale. So you're not, you're amongst friends. And there's quite a few of us out there, actually. And when I say it like that, there's quite a few. So where are you? So you met Pat and you got in touch with her. So what happened next?
I did a course with her, which blew my mind completely. I needed a bit to need some time to take it all in. And then I just kept pottering along doing sort of what I'd been taught to do in the new taught teachings, not the old teachings. And as we're pottering along, I stumbled across a few problems that I had. So just recently, was a couple of weeks ago now, I contacted Pat to ask her to help me treat my horse, which had more issues than I gave him credit for, and he was hiding them extremely well. So once we got him sorted and fixed, and he's balanced now, that he can actually walk properly and without a limp anymore. And this is the youngster. And he's, we're just finding new ways I'm finding new ways to treat animals without veterinary intervention and different ways of training, really.
Great. That's brilliant. And obviously you're not in the same country as Pat, so this is not face to face. This is it's not face to face. So I'm going to let Pat take over now. I'm going to explain it. So if you'd like to explain what did you do, Pat? What did you do with Paula and the horse?
Okay. Well, first of all, I come from the perspective that the first step in horse training is to create body symmetry. Okay. If you're not a symmetrical rider, you're like your horse, not symmetrical. And you can't balance equally between your left and your right foot. And because of that imbalance, okay, you shift, you tip. And it's the same with the horse. They shift and tip. And so then they start to offload and overstress, say, muscles and tendons or joints, and it all falls apart. And then we do interventions, which is a good thing because it helps us with the pain, controlling the pain of the animal so that we're being kind and humane. But we aren't going to the point of the problem, the source. And that's what the horse trainer's job actually in history has been, is to go to the source, to figure out the language of conformation and how we can use the horse's body through exercises. We know dressage. We have all these historical writings about how to ride circles and spirals and where you can put your weight and what rein to use. Okay, so we have all that. But what we have forgotten is that the horse itself has core muscles. And those core muscles, like if you did a sit-up, okay, crunches, okay, those muscles from the inside out is what expands and brings the horse's body into symmetry. So that's the first part of my philosophy about horse training, is that horses can fix themselves. We just have to ask them correctly. Then there's the energy part of it. And I have been one of those people that just have a gift, and it doesn't matter. Like Paula's a whole day ahead of me. Okay. But I can, for some reason, tap in through Paula to whatever horse she has a question about. And I can read what that horse's emotional state is, what their intentions, desires are, where they have a physical limitation, where they have frustration and concern, and what it is that they want us to help them with. And so sometimes I get this like pause, like, oh my God, what is happening? Okay, because I come in and I work with these horses with no pre-plan. It's just whatever kind of comes to me. I know this sounds very weird, but it's just how I work. So in Paula's horse's case, he was saying that he was really having problems with his front quarters, and it was twisting his body like think of a slinky, like a twist, and then it was slammed together. And I got these pictures, and then I take those feelings, because I'm empathic, and I overlay them onto who I am. And from that internalizing, you'll see me, I'll sit here and go, okay, well, what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out what muscle groups in my core would facilitate the horse to go and create enough internal energy force to open up his body so that he can thrive. So I just overlay the template of the damaged horse onto myself. Sometimes I see the horse like X-ray vision, so I can pick up on where a horse may have chips in the joint or lesions in the tendon. But it's all, to me, it's not the physical biochemical horse that I'm working with. I'm working with the structure, the antenna that receives and transmits all the information I'm getting. Okay, so the horse's structure, skeleton, is like a TV or microwave. It has to be symmetrical to send out and receive all of the information, all of the energy from the environment that sustains its life. And so I get prickly feelings. I get twisting feelings in my body. And then I translate that so that Paula can go, oh, what are we doing?
That's exactly right.
So she's way over in New Zealand, and I'm sitting in Dothan, Alabama. And I just get that a serpent is supposed to let go of the energy of the serpent. So we put a rocking motion. I think we also did that with your girl. And that rocking motion is a wave of energy. And that wave of energy asks the horse's core muscles to lock and hold itself up while we're doing from the ground, and they fix themselves. And then we have a horse that's becoming closer to symmetrical when they're working on restoring themselves. It's an energy-based reaction. This energy-based reaction, if you understand acupuncture or Reiki or any electrical, sound, or light, magnetic field moving through the horse, well, that activates the genetic code in every cell of that horse's body. And when you activate the stem cells, they create spontaneous and rapid restoration of tissue. And so this is how I train horses. So this is how I help Paula. I said, okay, this is the message I'm getting, and we're supposed to rock this horse a certain way. It was a little different than the way we rocked your girl. But so Paula's in New Zealand, and I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. You're going to do this with your horse. And
weirdest moment ever.
So that's just one approach. But people want a recipe book. And the first part of the recipe book is you need to understand conformation. And you need to understand that every horse is supposed to be symmetrical. Not we make the feet look symmetrical, or we ride them like 8 hours a day to make the muscles. Those are artificial interventions. And that's where in horse training, I think we could do a little bit better by preparing the horse, by developing body symmetry before we stress them. And then we would have happier horses.
Yeah.
So, I babbled.
No, you don't. You don't. You do what you do, Pat, and that's explaining as best you can how you work and what your work is all about. So, Paula, so when Pat did this with your horse, obviously you was there and you was working with your horse, and Pat was giving you instructions what to do. So afterwards, do you want to just explain a little bit what happened?
Yeah, okay. What he had done is, let's start with what I'd done. I'd pushed him back too far using too much energy, and he had slipped in his off hind, and what I'd thought is torn a muscle in his rump or hindquarters, and he had actually gone and slightly popped out his stifle. So Pat asked if we could do this shaking. So we did that, and then she suddenly says, okay, can you pick up his off hind and then just press his hock in just a little bit, not much. I mean, God, I barely even used any pressure whatsoever. And all of a sudden I felt this pop, and heard this pop, and it popped all back in. And then my husband's standing at the front of him, holding him, and I put the leg down gently, and all of a sudden my husband goes, oh my God, look at the top of his back. His back used to be a ridge where the two muscles are along the sides, and then his spine in the middle. Well, that had dropped away completely, and it was just his spine, just normal again. And I went, okay, well, that's weird, but all right. And then we let him rest and settle, and Pat and I just chatted and carried on, and as she was doing her thing. And I thought, and then all of a sudden his gaskin muscle popped out, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that was flat before. And then a few other things happened where other muscles started suddenly showing up in places where they weren't before. And it's not something that you can explain well. This is, I can't explain it when you've got to see it to believe it, really, to know what's going on. And this horse now, after doing a few more treatments, and he had a crack at the first time he cantered, was like, I messaged Pat saying, oh my God, he just cantered across the paddock. He hasn't done that in a week. And then it was yesterday we were mowing the lawns on the other side of his paddock, and my husband was in the trees there, and he shot off like a bullet. And I was like, he hasn't done that in quite a while. So it's just they're trying to find other ways of, because we were having the question in my head was, to fix this, I either have to get a vet, which I already know the answers to that is, because I've had it a couple of times of similar situations, or I phoned Pat, and I phoned Pat. Best move ever.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm smiling because when you said your horse cantered off or galloped off for a run, something happened to Toots today, but I'll talk to you about that afterwards. And she literally did laps around the field. And I was like, holy Moses. Yeah, so that's just reminded, that's reminded me of that. But I'll talk to you about that after, Pat, because something's just gone, hello, ding, 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 ding. So now you've got a horse that's no longer lame.
No.
Yeah, and so
he's fully sound.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you see something like that, again, we're not used to that. I mean,
no.
So
not when I've been trained in the conventional training methods, and you get the vet when things like that happen. You know, it's so the question was in my mind, okay, this is the question. That's the answer, is either the vet or Pat. And I thought, I have two roads to choose here. I know the vet road because I've been down that road several times and I already know the answers to what the question is for that. I'm going to choose the other road today and see where we go, because there is no harm in trying, and I've got nothing to lose at this point apart from the horse.
Yeah.
He was laying down, right? He was having bad moments. Correct?
He was having bad moments. He was laying down. He was okay, but he was definitely. It was a bad moment.
Yeah. So so like you said, it's not that you thought, I'm going to ignore that because I'm going this way. You know the answer to the vet. So
I already knew the answer.
So it was like a no-brainer. It's either this or it's the next thing.
Yeah, so sadly, over the last few years, I've had horses, mainly thoroughbreds, and I have, through the conventional way of riding and training, I have trained them up, and they have subsequently broken down for various reasons. So the last one, the one that the pictures that you've got on the Facebook page of me riding a black horse, he had arthritis in his knees, and he was lame. But the problem mainly was that he had massive amounts of arthritis in his stifle that we x-rayed. He wasn't lame there at all, but that's where the major problem was. And within a couple of weeks of getting the vet for that, he was put down because he couldn't get up or get down. So, and then, I've had several of these, or not several, but I've had a few of these in similar situations because of the conventional training methods, and it hasn't worked. So I had a choice, and I made the opposite one to what I'd normally make. And the difference is that I still have a horse in the paddock, and he's not in the ground, because that's where it was going.
Yeah. And I mean, I know. And it is difficult because you're trying to you've
got to do the best for the horse. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
But I'm sick of putting horses in the ground. So because of the conventional method. So, and that's where I'm at now. I've ridden horses since I was 4. So I'm not a newbie to this. And in New Zealand, we are quite literally 30 years behind the game. And the training methods out there my daughter competes, and I haven't competed for many years now, but even just through that, I see the conventional training methods, and I don't like what I'm seeing. These horses are upset, they're grumpy, they come off the float stomping. Some of them stand there, but you can see they're more shut down than anything else, because they've had so much done to them. And they've overdone it, and they're just trying to hide in themselves as best as they can.
Yeah. So, and your eyes have been opened now, and the beauty.
Oh God, yeah.
But the beauty of this is, so I'm sure there'll be, as you were talking about what you were doing, and there will be people that may listen to this and say, well, I know that because I'm a body worker, so I know what that reaction is. But we're talking about Pat working from another country on an energetic level. And that's what we're trying to get across, is that the energy is more powerful, used with, if you miss that bit out, you're missing out a vital component to aid your horse even more and to help them renew themselves.
Yeah, coming from the conventional side of it, this is a piece I've been missing for years.
Yeah.
And this is how it should.
Pat will say that's been around before time, so it's not new. It's just that we've forgotten.
Not new,
and we don't trust it. Pat wants to talk. Put your hand up, Pat. She's desperate to talk.
That's the longest I've been quiet. Okay, so this is something. It's not against what we have available. It's something that I chose because I come from the middle of Ontario, Canada, and in the 1950s, dates me, 1950s, 60s, and 70s, I didn't have a vet. I mean, like, I would have to go like an hour and a half to 2 hours to have a vet come to my place. And when you have like 12 to 17 feet of snow, I mean, literally, you open the second story window of your house and slide down a snowbank and have to have sled dogs. And there's no vet. What do you do? What do you do? So I took, I've done a lot of research over my life, and I went back and asked myself, how did the original horse people look after their horses? How did they maintain their horses? And that takes you into what we have today, which is judging horses. Okay, I have a bit of a comment about that, because I think if you're judging breeding horses, that they should be presented barefoot and naked, so that the judge can see the truth of the horse's body symmetry, his quality of his genetics, rather than slapping shoes on and trying to artificially present a horse and make him look like he is something he is not. So how did our forefathers come up with the idea that to judge the quality of a horse, it's based on body symmetry? And why is it today that we're not doing that? And I just started going back and reading a whole lot of science. I studied with Nassim Harriman, who is a physicist, and he wrote a scaling law for the interaction of the smallest particle. So if you get into quantums all the way up to the size of the universe, what are those mathematical scales? Okay, so that's a lot of science for the scientific mind. So you're talking about geometry and math. Yeah, that's in the horse. But then I go all the way back to the Indo-European tradition, and it is an old culture that has basically been put into suppression and extinction. It was called the Asser. And because I'm trying to figure out why is it that in our cells, that genetic code, it's always trying to bring us back to balance. Skeleton is always balanced. Why is that? Because we live on a crooked planet. It makes a figure 8. It has the sign of the serpent written all over it. So how can we be developed to be symmetrical while we're living in a force that's twisting us like a towel, and our bodies are structurally designed to be symmetrical? That doesn't make sense. It's an environmental contradiction. So I went back into the tradition of the Asser, which would take you to the Sami people, the Laplanders with the reindeer, and going all the way into the Mongolian peoples. And the Assers, the first story of the creation of life on this planet, starts with when the earth stood straight on her leg. There was no pain. There was no suffering. There was no disease. There was no death. Think about that. And that's what inspired me to focus on the energy quality of creating symmetry and activating the historical record of being straight and pain-free as living beings. I took that and I went back and I looked at horses and went, there's a serpent in every horse. There's 2 serpents in every horse. There's 6 serpents in every horse. So there's 6 different flows of energy that all create a twist of a serpent. Well, why aren't we reversing those patterns? Why aren't we taking that energy, those energy fields, and tapping them back into the genetic codes so that the horse can be sustainable within his natural environment, instead of having to do all these superficial interventions that aren't going to the source of the horse's training problem? And what are we left? We're left with horses that we all love and cherish, and we do our best as own trainers, but maybe we should go backwards in time and be less sophisticated and more authentic. And that's what I'm about as a horse trainer. Ta-da.
Thank you, Pat. That's given us quite a lot to think about. Okay. So I'm just trying to think of a question, because you gave me a lot to think about there. And obviously, we've chatted before, so some of this isn't new, but it's still like, wow. So when you're connecting to the horse, I don't know if we're getting a bit of feedback. Can you hear feedback? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's okay then.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. So when you're connecting with the horses, what is the? Actually, no, that's quite a general question. I'm trying to think of a question. What's the common theme that runs through the ones that you're connecting to? What is it that they really want us as people, as humans, to get hold of, to grasp, to enable to help us and to help them?
I'm going to say this. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist or a counselor. Okay. I think horses understand that at the core of humanity, that we have something very special. This may make me cry. Okay. Okay. We are something very, very special. That the horse, from the very beginning of our history, has been one of the few animals that has carried man. And that there's an energetic intersection that has been recorded in the genetics between a horse and a human. Now, I'm not saying that our DNA and everything is the same, but there's an energy connection. When you think of a rider, they sit over top of a horse at the base of the withers. We have our main power channel in a human runs vertical, and it's through the core. And that when we sit on the horse, that energy goes through the horse's body and grounds. Well, horses have been feeling us from the very first time a pagan horseman ever put his leg over a horse's back. And what we don't understand, because we're so busy thinking in our modern technology and everything's test and technology and this gimmick and that thing, what we forgot is that our energy merges with the horse's energy. So in shamanic tradition, right, I haven't been given a title by any Native American groups, but I was recognized by 3 shamans, and I was given the right to say that I'm an Anasadagi medicine woman, because I've been kissed by lightning twice in my life. Okay, so I work with energy. So in shamanic traditions, the sternum, we all know the solar plexus. If you do energy work, you have your energy body wants to come and go through the base of your solar plexus. That's been tracked. It's been photographed. It's been measured. So there is fact in science. Just go look it up. So when you sit on your horse at the base of the withers, and your energy goes through the horse, and the horse's energy field runs horizontally, your primary energy field is going right through the solar plexus of the horse. So your energy field is merging at the solar plexus of the horse, and it's the sign of the cross. It's the first sign of the cross. Now, I'm not trying to go into Christianity or anything like that. I'm just looking at symbolism in history. So there is a merging in our horse history that the horses have a lot of compassion for humans because they're waiting for us to wake up. They're waiting for us to go back to who we really are. Right now, we're locked in a world that is basically a placebo effect. What we believe, what narratives we've been taught to believe, are separating us from being authentic and to be in touch with nature, which is really where we need to fit, because there's a lot of goodness that we're supposed to be bringing into the animals, into nature, to restore this existence. Now, that sounds like a very far out there concept, but it is in a lot of the major myths and major writings that humans are special, and horses see us as special. Now, a horse will reflect the belief system of the people around him, okay? Because he's part of the placebo effect. What you believe is what you manifest. So if you believe the horse is kind of stupid and maybe a little defiant, and you've got to be out there doing your thing to try and control the horse, then the horse is going to reflect that. And if you think that you're not capable of something, that you're afraid to try to solve a problem on your own, then you won't succeed. And horses see that in people. This is what scares them, is because we're magic. To take a bridle off a horse and go into a big performance ring and ride without a bridle, without a saddle, the majority of people are going, oh, but what if that was the way it was supposed to be in the first place? Because we're connected. When you strip all the stuff away and it's just you, a horse, and maybe a rope, that's when things get really, really down to being honest. So horses are frustrated with us because we are invisible to ourselves. We've bought into the narrative that we have to go somewhere else. We have to buy something. We have to get direction from somebody instead of investing in our gift of existence. We're powerful. What I choose to believe, I was raised and I was educated as a classical rider, and the foundations of classical horsemanship are very, very powerful because they're based on the authentic balance between a horse and rider. And I took that historical thought of riding and I moved it into modern times And I lost my self-confidence as a person. I can't fix my horse. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then in 1986, they repeated a scientific experiment, which won't mean much to people in normal life. But when you're into holistic and energy work, it validated the presence of the ether, which is the energy field that exists between everything and everybody. And when that came forward, I was just like, oh my gosh, what I feel and can't say to people, because I'm just like the horse, nobody wants to listen to this. It's true. It's real. Here's science. I have to talk about the religion of science and prove everything with facts when sometimes we don't have the equipment to prove it. But what if it's real? What if it's real? So the horses come to me and they say, okay, this person is in emotional distress. They're invisible at their workplace. They feel like they're incompetent. I love them. They're hurting me. They don't understand they're hurting me. Could you please tell them how to not hurt me? That's a rough message. That's a rough message.
Yeah.
So what I say is, let's make the horse symmetrical and not worry about all this other stuff. Let's go back to being authentic, to being pure to our gift. Everybody has a hand. You go up to a horse and you pat him. Have you ever thought that your hand went to that spot for a reason? Because we're natural healers. Okay, our hands will naturally go to where a horse has a problem. Our eyes will naturally go to where a horse has a problem. And we will talk ourselves out of not seeing it because we believe that something else is responsible for that knowledge, not us. So our horses are waiting for us because they want to teach us about ourselves. Because just think, if we could straighten more horses, wouldn't it be an amazing world to live in? I just always dream about that. Just have a good time.
That was beautifully said, and I could feel every word you said, as I always do. I feel that, but my head's trying to, even doing what I do, my head tries to okay, what does that mean? It's not that it's.
Here's the deal. There's the world of thinking. I wrote a little. I get these little things I wake up with in the morning, and this morning it was about bubbles. And we all live in a bubble. We all live in a little bubble, and in our energy fields, taking information. And like, okay, so we listen to the TV and we read the book and we watch the video and we go outside and talk to our friends and we get all these things layered onto us and we think about them because they're not authentic to who we are. They don't fit into our heart. We can't feel it in our gut. So it's foreign. And we can fit in our bubble, and people, the narrative of society, education, belief systems keeps our bubble this size because we think. And if you just accept it, your bubble starts to grow because you're just in here. And what is not true for you is not going to resonate in your heart. So there are people that have to think, that they have to function in a placebo state of creating their reality. And there's other people that experience their reality without thinking because they feel. And so those people's, their bubbles get bigger and until it's like soap bubbles, like some of it goes down and gets them to be like foam. Okay, and then there's other bubbles, and they come up and they go boop. Okay, and the air that's inside that bubble just gets big, it expands. And I really think that's a way of explaining how my bubble expands over to see Paula. It goes, hi, okay, because I've expanded out of the belief system that I have to think and I have to know, and there's a plan. Oh, if you knew, I got a horse in Cold Lake, Alberta this week. And, I try not to interfere with what veterinarians are working with, because they come from a good place in their heart. But this horse was going to lay down and die. And his owner's like, knock, 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 please, 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 please. I'm like, I can't. This is more like a veterinarian thing, and I don't want to overstep a reach. But I was asked by the horse to provide an intervention. So we provided an intervention. I just applied a training exercise, and the horse is thriving, but it's just, you expand and you accept that you don't have to know anything to be effective. You just have to be a non-thinker and allow it to happen. And that's really where I operate from. So there you go. We went from horses to bubbles to New Zealand.
No, and I find it fascinating. So, like I said, I'm sometimes it's like, so I'm saying this for people that are listening as well. So there's bits that I understand. I'm not in your place, but it's not that I believe it. I know it in my heart. I know it, but I'm trying to relate to my head, and put it in a way that not people, because you're the one that's talking. It's not always words. It's not always translatable. So I know it. I don't believe it. I know it. You don't have to convince me. I know that. And it goes way beyond even that, as far as I'm aware. But we can only comprehend as humans at this moment so much. But it's about opening up to experience and to start believing. And that's what you said, the horses, which goes with the communication that I do. They don't want you to carry the burdens. They don't want you to have the up and down emotions so extreme. They want you to be present, and they want you to see, but with the feel of the changes. Now, as I'm saying that, I'm well aware that I do what I should not do with my own horse. And I know you can smile, but so I'm being honest, but that is the thing that drives me insane, because, and that's why she galloped off around the field 3 times today. And yes, it was slippery, and she'd come into season because she could smell the guys next door. But it was like, I took a rug off, the sun was on her back, and she went for it. Now, unconsciously, which is what I always do, that I'm my eyes drawn to somewhere, and my head wants to see something and not see the other things that are going on that's changed. So I'm aware of that. I'm aware in myself, because of the two aspects of me, Ronnie, the human, get on and do it stuff, me, Ronnie, the communicator. So there is this that comes together. And I think sometimes that's why I can explain it to other people, to say to them, look, this is how it goes, and it goes to me too. It's not, I'm saying I'm special, but it's the feeling we have to trust rather than the seeing. If we follow that the whole time, we're missing this. It's this first, and then that shows you what's actually going on. And as I say that, it's almost like this veil is drawn away, and you can see things from this eye, not these eyes. So that was beautifully said, as always, Pat. And I, you know, it may be a bit up there sometimes for you know, but you're on, that's your world and that's where you're coming from. So it does, I don't sit here thinking, you know, well, because I feel it. My brain doesn't let me always go there, but I know in my heart that what you say, where you're coming from, is truth, and with the integrity and the horses at the forefront.
Yes, and I mean it's a big step to take. I mean, oh my gosh, you just kind of go, am I making this up? I mean, to me, the most important thing in my toolbox is my cell phone camera, because I'm constantly taking pictures, because I'm like, oh, that didn't happen. That doesn't happen. And you know, for Paula to tap into herself, because she has opened up her own heartfelt connection, both to her animals, but also to the land that she's on. Okay. She's becoming able to see and to take that thinking mechanism and put it over there and just trust. Because you cannot explain the experience.
Yeah. Do you want to add something there, Paula?
It's the hardest thing to explain, and it's the hardest thing to trust too, because especially if you're coming from the conventional side of it, of knowing that, right, we've got to get the vet next, or we've got to get this one or that one or whatever, and then just suddenly realizing that you can do this and you can trust it. Just go with it for a moment. Just have a go and relax and just let it happen. I think that's the one thing I've taken away from all of this, is that I can do this and I can trust myself and I do know what I'm doing, but just because I can't get it out and explain it correctly doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. I think that's and it's the hardest thing. It's just, even my husband, he just sits there and shakes his head like, God, no, but it's the hardest thing to explain. I can't, when we were doing the work with spirit the other week, Pat, I could feel your energy going through me and into him. And I couldn't explain it. I don't, because I haven't done it ever.
It's one of the hardest parts of this. And I do think that we're on the crest of a wave of people with animals tapping in and going, oh my gosh, my animal has personality. And I think they're intelligent. And they're telling me something. It's really hard to explain that to people who are thinking all the time and they're not tapping into it. So yeah, my energy, you're my cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay? I use you as the receiver so that I can make sure I'm working with the right horse. And when you stand there, like I have back tracings here of some of the horses that we're learning from years ago. I have one horse came in and we did training exercise for her because she was a ewe-necked and hollowed back horse. And we did a back tracing, and then we did the exercises, because I'm always trying to find a way to validate my statements because they're so bizarre. And we came back after doing a little training work and we retraced the horse's top line. I mean, I'm trying to be scientific here. I put tape on the ground so that we know where the front feet are. Where am I here? Front feet are right on the line. And then we had tape for the hind feet, so we knew where they were for the first tracing and the first photo session. And we bring the horse back and we stand her up so feet are in the front. Perfect. The back feet, we can't put them on the tape because her conformation shifted. This horse lengthened her body by 8 inches in a matter of 30 minutes. How do I explain that? And so when you have these experiences, you kind of swallow them and you walk out into the mainstream horse world, and you have to bite your tongue sometimes because people are doing the best that they know how, because they've been given this book, this education that's got them thinking, but they've forgotten the potential of nature. And when you are in awe, that's where some magic comes from, you know? I like words. Words are pretty important. So you take the word awe, A-W-E. I'm in awe. It's usually like you're inspired or you're in fear of a power greater than yourself. So I'm in awe of nature because it's very inspiring. I think, oh my gosh, look what we could possibly do. And then because we live in a dimension of thinking that's reversed, I reversed the word to EWA. And it comes out in entomology, which is the study of the history of roots of words. It comes out to AE. AE is the law of nature. It is the law of God. So when I am in awe of nature, I am working in a dimension that goes far beyond anything that the human mind can create. And that's why I just love my job so much. And that's why I work to inspire people to rethink how they train their horses, how they're breeding their horses, and to go back to the very basics of how do we work with nature, the horse, and the human spirit. And then we actually have horses you can get on, drop your reins, use your core muscles, ride high-end dressage, or go out there and do some kind of reining or roping, and you're in connection through your horse's energy gate, the solar plexus, the soul gate, with your core energy, and you're now an intuitive rider. Oh, if you ever had a riding lesson from me, you'd all go, oh my God, because it's all based on energy, opening and closing different energy systems in your body, and it works.
Wow, that was lovely how I described. No, it's all right. I'm just going to, because there's a few people that's saying hi, so I don't want to ignore them, but I didn't want to stop you in mid-flow. So Derek stopped on earlier to say evening. Hi, Derek. I hope you're still watching. I hope you're still here. And we've got Phyllis Beasley. She's just joined a little bit late. So we need to trust it. Absolutely, definitely. That's the hardest thing. Yeah, Derek again. Energy is beautiful. And we've got Kathy. We are all energy and we are all connected. We certainly are. We certainly are, Kathy. Your experience is your truth.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to step out of our little human space and into nature space, which is so much bigger. It certainly is. Oh, it's nice that there's quite a few people watching, which is great. And Didi, love what you're just sharing. Horses love energy, work on many different levels. They do. They do. So what is the plan? So let's get back to Paula and just, so where are you going? What's happening now with your horse?
We've given him a few days off just to let him settle himself, and I'm not going to push him. I'm over the pushing of it all. There is no time frame anymore. I want this horse to last till I'm old. He's my forever horse. So And he's the last one I will ever buy. So I'm going to do things differently by him. He's still not started under saddle. That's my next job, but I need him symmetrically sound and balanced before I even go there. So working with Pat, she's given me exercises to do, so I'll just carry on doing those. And then once he tells me he's ready for more, then we'll go on with that. So I've already sat on him with a saddle and stuff like that before, and worked him as such. But I haven't done all the lunging or anything like that. It's just been, can I put your saddle on today? And weird things happen. So I've asked questions and he would either sort of nod or then go like that. So I was like, okay, if you go like that, then there's no more. It's okay. I'll hop off. That's fine. If you want me to carry on, you just tell me if you carry on by yourself and I'll toodle along with you. It's changed the whole way I do things, the whole way I think. I try not to speak anymore using words, to use my brain. I just try and watch and listen and use my heart instead. Wow. And that's the hardest bit, is trying to get out of using my brain, because that's what you're told to do when, right from the age of 4, you've been told, talk to the horse or do this or do that, and you lunge the horse, but not anymore. I haven't lunged this horse. He's gone around a few times just to walk, trot and canter, but it's been sort of, oh yeah, you don't need to do that. That's okay. That's enough. We spend a couple of minutes just using energy to bring him in, bring him out, push him in, push him out. But it's just playing, really, just seeing, connecting with him more than anything.
Well, you're finding the connection you're finding, and you're strengthening that, because it's like, it's like a muscle. As you use it, the more fine-tuned it gets, and it won't be even having to think about not having the thoughts, because it will just be there on an energetic level. Says the girl that always has her head full of stuff. I mean, I'm listening to you, and I mean, I'm quite open to say this. I do animal communication, and it's changing with other horses. But when it's your own horse, there's always your own baggage, and that's the hardest thing. So I never say, look, this is what I do, and I'm perfect. I am not.
No,
yes,
none of us
I can actually say that I'm good at what I do. And a while ago, I wouldn't have even said that, because that was, oh no, you can't say that. I'm good at what I do. I do the best to my ability that I'm given on that day. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not worse than anybody else. I'm just my best at that moment. And I take responsibility for that. But as Ronnie with her own horse, that's a different lady sometimes. And I don't mind saying that, because I'm a human at the end of the day. I'm spirit, but I'm human too. And so I'm looking at you and listening to you talk, and my heart is bursting, because that's lovely to see and to hear that your journey. But it's also exciting, because I know what's coming. I don't mean I have a crystal ball, but I know the depths and the tiniest things, but they will feel wow. And that's lovely. It's just a nice feeling. It's such a beautiful place to be.
It's so nice to not rush anymore, because you see the system. I see 4-year-olds jumping 1.20 meters out in the young classes, and I just think, no, stop. We need to stop. And I've got this boy's 6.5 now, and he's still not started under saddle. Crikey, we haven't been on a float to be anywhere yet. And it's like, no, why do I need to do that? I keep questioning now. Why do I have to keep pushing the barrow of the conventional way? Why can't I just do this by myself? Why can't I change things? I need to change. We have 4 horses here, 3 and 2.5 are my daughters, and 1.5's mine. And it's where it all really started is we adopted a wild Kaimanawa. out of the Rangers when when one of the musters happened in 2018, and that changed everything. I tried the conventional method with him, and it just didn't work, because he is so energetically bound to him and his earth that you try and do anything conventional with him and he just says, nah, see you later. And then the lockdown happened, and I thought, right, I've got the time, I'm going to do a deep dive. And that's when it all really changed. But he was really the start of it all. And I've had people here try and do the conventional thing with him, and they just ripped the rope out of the hands, threw this lady across the other side of the yards, and that was the end of that. So and he was only a yearling and not very big. But yeah, my whole outlook has completely changed, and it's almost like scrambling or treading water. That's what I feel like I'm doing at the moment. It's treading water and trying to get up the side of the bank. And that's what it feels like. Some days is absolutely brilliant, but then there's other days where it's just like, oh my God, this water is so deep. What am I doing?
Yeah.
But it's that you've got to challenge yourself, and you've got to push the boat out and really change, because if you don't change, nothing changes.
And quite often it's when you get to a point that you've got no options, like you did. It's like, okay, I've got nothing to lose. This is the last chance corral. I've got to try this. Where it should be now the forefront, alongside, or there's a place for everything in the right place.
Yeah.
But not to exclude, not to do all that and go, okay, now it's this, because it's the missing link. It's the main thing that runs through everything. It's energy. We're all connected. There's no separation. It's all there. So why would we think it would be any different?
I think it's because we've forgotten how to use it.
Yeah. And trusting, which is difficult, because you still, as I've said a little while ago, when it's to do with your own, you have to, you get the old page coming up, and then you get rid of that and go, no, this is the new page, but no, this is the new page, but no, and you're just doing that. But
That's exactly what
you have to go through that, because without the old page, you wouldn't know how different and amazing the new, it's not the new version, but the new part of your understanding can be, and what that can mean. It just amazes me. I mean, something happened today. I'm not going to talk about it because it's not for me to talk about. But the communication comes from all parts of the world, and I can get a communication from an animal that's I've never met, I don't know, that's on the other side of the world, and it's not because I've connected with the owner that they've asked me to. It's literally, I know you're an open channel, please, and I know you can pass a message to there, so please do that. And that's what I do. I do that quite a lot, and it's getting more and more frequent. And because I've made an agreement that I will always be open to, if anybody needs help. Are you okay?
My daughter has just woken up.
Oh, bless her, because I keep forgetting it's morning. Hi. Oh, bless her.
Oh.
That's so sweet. Don't just love lives. But yeah, so it's just amazing. It doesn't cease to amaze me. And it's not always just one horse. Sometimes it's a collective talking on behalf of another horse. They come to you and they're saying, this horse needs help. Can you do something? And it would only come to me if there's a link somehow to go somewhere else. I'd love to say what it is, but I can't, because but this happens quite a lot. So it's not just today. This happens quite a lot, and it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind, and I'm humbled that I get to relay that it comes through me. Yeah. And I would never go back. I would never go back. So I'm always trying to improve myself and trying to open myself more and get past the monkey head, the monkey brain. But it, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. Are you still with us, Pat?
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying listening, because everybody has, as Kathy Kathy said in her note, that everybody has their own truth and their own way of experiencing this. I think part of the issue is that we're programmed to think that it's woo and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then when you do animal, for you do really good animal communication, and you get validations back, and you kind of go, well, if it was just woo, why was that message effective to helping somebody see something they weren't seeing?
Yeah.
You know,
but if I hadn't, if I hadn't trusted, because it literally, it's not like, here's a message, can you pass this on, in neon lights. It's not like that at all. It's very, very, very subtle, which is why horses teach us so much, because the subtlety that they teach us. It's very subtle, and you could almost ignore it. And it's usually when I'm driving somewhere and I have to pull over. But I understand my own energy when you know, and I pay attention. And the thing is, if it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't matter. Because I always say, if it means nothing, then don't worry about it. You know, it doesn't matter. But I've done my job on passing that energetic message on, because that's important, because that's what I vowed to do. And so it doesn't matter to me. If you're afraid that you're worried about being wrong, then that's coming from a different place, which I understand. It can be your own insecurities. And it doesn't mean to say, I think, okay, I never know what it means until I get a response back. And it doesn't always happen straight away, because it might not be the time zone. It might be a bit later. So when I get a response back, it's lovely, because I go, oh, wow, okay, thank you. And I always say, thank you for allowing me to be a messenger, you know, because I'm just very humbled that the energy comes through me in that way. But anyway, it's not about me today. It's about you guys. So, Pat, earlier I talked about, which I think is an amazing thing, that you could, if that was something that you thought was a good idea for yourself, for people that are looking for a future horse. So they've got something in mind, whether it's just to have fun with, or to do something competition. You can go into that horse and tell him what's physically going on. But if they just wanted to know that, and they're following their gut, maybe they're just trying it and thinking, I'm drawn to this horse, I feel this is the right horse, but I'm not sure. And a little bit like we had a conversation, and as soon as you started talking, I was pleased, because one bit, when I was looking at the horse, I thought, no, the horse isn't right. Doesn't matter what they say, the horse isn't right from a video. I just know that. But they might not be aware of that. And you said, and I thought, yes. So for me, that's brilliant, because that's something you could offer as a service for clarity, and it's more information that they know, and say, okay, I can handle that, I can take that horse on board, or actually, in that case, I don't think that horse is for me, because I'm not sure I can help that horse, which means a horse will go to the right person it's meant to go to. Does that make? I'm just talking now. Talk.
No, it's good. It's good, because there are people that are thinking on a different level about horses. So the exchange between the three of us, I think, is very, very constructive, because it's balancing the different perspectives that we encounter. I started the Balance Horse Project because I wanted to prevent the stress and frustrations that people have with their horses. I wanted to understand if holistic care added to training would have an influence. And I stepped into something that went way beyond that. So my heartfelt goal is to help people understand the horse that they either own or they're looking to bring into their relationship. To take young horses and prepare them to interact with their career training so that we have a really clear picture of what the horse's limitations are. And, you know, it's up to the individual how they choose to move forward with the horse. But all this potential.
Sorry, Pat. I was just going. Paula, are you okay? Do you want to? If you want to head off now, you're absolutely fine because I know it's morning there. Do you want to stay around? You can stay around.
Yeah, it's all right. My daughter has just put toast in the toaster, but she actually wants pear crumble. Now she's asked me if I want to eat the toast. I don't want the toast because I've had breakfast.
Bless her. Oh, bless her. Because Paula, you have a mute button, so if you want to listen and mute yourself, you can do. If you can,
that'll be great.
Yeah. Bless her. Oh, that's what I just love life. So, this is real life. So this is what happens.
So this is how I work, and it's not to prove I'm right or wrong or indifferent, but I work with people from all walks of life and all different ways of seeing and believing things. So what I always ask is that I can read your horse and I can tell you everything that comes through like you do. But is it factual or is it subjective? And when people are putting money out, you know, I'm going to go and buy this horse. It's worth all this money. Okay. I always work by asking for a very specific series of photographs. And then that way I can meet with the person. I can read the horse. I can read horses. Don't take me to a racetrack, okay? I can read horses. I can believe. But the bottom line is I want to move away from the criticism of being subjective and to say that there's ways to show that the way we interpret our non-verbal, non-physical interactions actually have a relationship to the physical evidence that's demonstrated by the horse's conformation. Now, the way I'm going to view a horse from intuitive, holistic position is going to be much different than what you hear from a vet or a blacksmith, because they are educated in a different form of science. They're taking regions or sections of the horse and going here, here, or here's the problem. Whereas I'm going to look at the horse as like, here's the whole horse. We have a structural, conformational deviation away from symmetry here, which means that he could have potential stress, overstress that you might want to investigate. Here's the evidence through the photos. Here's how this stress relates to stress on the opposite side or on the top or the underside of the horse, which is causing the lopsided development of its feet. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about the interaction and the impact that body symmetry and centered balance in the body could have potential on your horse, and how lopsided that center of gravity and body symmetry has become. And that's really what I will work from. My job is not to replace the vet. I need to let you know that. I don't work from a diagnosis. I just listen intuitively and then try to look at the physical evidence of the horse's conformation so I can help people to see it, because I can talk subjective things all day long and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And people don't learn because they don't hold on to words very well. But if they have a photo and I say, okay, see this, these spots here, then they always have that picture. And so when people bring their horses into our training programs, we do the same thing. We do a photo analysis to find out how trainable, where our training limitations are. Okay. And then we start training, like in Paula's case. And then we'll take after photographs and we'll do comparisons. Are we making a positive impact on the horse and bringing it into its most efficient state, which is symmetry? Or are we causing pain or distress by overstressing the horse and taking him away from symmetry? So that's what those photos do. And it helps people to learn. And that's what I want. I want people to see the horse just a little differently than, oh, it's the hock, or it's the stifle, or it's the foot, or it's the mouth. It's everything. If one thing is out of balance, everything's out of balance. And that's what I can bring to people if they're buying a horse, if they have young horses that they want to prepare before they go to the trainers, so the horse has a really amazing career, if it's a performance horse or if it's just a family horse and you're having concerns about maybe the horse is unhappy and is translating into behavior that's maybe a little stressful for people. Yeah, let's do something about that by educating our training side. We've educated the medical side, okay? Now we need to go back and educate and retrain the horse trainer, the rider, to work in a holistic, energy-based environment of the horse itself. And that'd be amazing. So that's what I can offer people. It's amazing what comes out of these photos.
Oh, you are such a. I love listening to you talk, and I really have to listen. And you have such a passion, and I know that sometimes you say it is and it is changing.
Yes.
But I know through previous conversations, it can be frustrating because it's almost you have so much to share, but not everybody wants to hear it. But it is changing, and I think things like this, and you know, there's lots of avenues that are coming open, and it's almost like they're coming out the sideways and going into the center rather than being stuck in the center and trying to reach.
Yeah, it's not linear.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's like standing, you know, those guys that surf and there's the big curl and the guy's going through that's how it feels. It's just like you're slingshotting through the curl of a wave.
Which is the calm and nice bit, not on the top, is it?
I don't want to get smashed, but it is coming. And I mean, when I started, I was given the opportunity to work with some average pacing horses in Canada and produced horses that broke track speed records. And I was able to support a rider who had an ambition to go to the Australian Olympics. Her horse was falling apart on a 3-day event course. I think he ranked 53rd on the American selection list, which means he wasn't in the running. And we worked together, and that horse ended up going to Australia and placing 9th in the world. So it's very powerful, this. And I don't know other than to say, if you are a thinking person and this challenges the way you perceive reality, it's okay to believe in magic, because it is magic.
Absolutely, and that's a brilliant note to end on. I'm just going to bring in Derek. He's made him as commit. So it's the same in particularly every profession, from doctors to mechanics. Nobody asks how and why. Something is the way it is. That's very true. Yeah, don't ask. Although I do ask my mechanic questions. In fact, I had a problem with my car, and he uses every time it was so funny. I know this is nothing to do with horses, but I'm going to say it anyway. Every time I drove into the garage, it would stop making the noise, and I was like, "He's just done it." I'd drive out, and it wouldn't do it. And this went on for days. I was thinking, for goodness sake! So I googled noises in car, and YouTube has videos for everything. And this guide got all these videos, and I thought, that's what that noise is. It's one of the bells. So you can find the information. You don't always have to go to the professionals. If you want the information, the universe will provide it, basically. And YouTube is a great place. Oh, but it was so funny. And it did it the other day. It was squealing at me. I went, "What do you want me to do, car?" I took you to the garage because my car is an extension of me. Because if something's going on with my car, in the past, if I wasn't moving forward, if I was afraid to move forward, which is going to sound really daft, but I don't care, my car would not go. Something would happen to it. And I knew it's not the car, although it's me. It's me not moving forward. So I pat my car on the bonnet every now and then, go, "I know you're struggling, but I'm working with it." But so I think we're gonna call it, and we're gonna wrap it up now. So do you want to come back in, Paula? Do you guys want to just say a last note to everybody? Actually, before we go, does anybody want to ask a question? If anybody wants to ask a quick question to either of us, please just do a quick one now before we go. And while they're doing that, Paula, what would you like to say? Is there anything you'd like to say to anybody that's thinking about changing or adding something else to enable their horses to have a fuller life?
I think from what I've seen so far, and I was very much of the skeptical side. Just jump, just do it. You've got nothing to lose. And if it wasn't for Pat and others that I've listened to, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm no expert at all. I can barely string this sentence together in the whole how it works or anything like that. But if it wasn't for Pat being able to do this and meeting you now, Rodney, thank you so much for having me on. I wouldn't be where I am today. I still battle days, it's daily battles. But no, I don't want it. God, bloody hell. Crikey.
Don't worry, I'll edit that bit out.
So it's just follow your gut and just do it, because you've got nothing to lose. If you're where I was, we're at a crossroads, and it was just, well, what else do? I already know that path, and we're going to try the other one and see what that happens. And there's no reason why I shouldn't and why I can't. So that's what we've done.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Derek's just asked a quick question. What is the best bit of advice you would give each? You'd each give to someone starting out in energy work. Okay. Pat, you can go first.
Yeah.
Laugh. Just laugh. And whatever comes, just go with it. A lot of people have been educated that, there's evil out there and there's all this negative stuff. I don't perceive it as such. And I think that when you realize that each person, whether you're aware of it or you're not aware of it, you are sovereign. Okay? You're sovereign. You are quite capable of turning to anything that makes you feel uncomfortable or you think is working against you and saying, you need to leave now. And according to universal law, it has to obey you. So laugh instead of being afraid, and always follow things that lead you into an adventure. I've had so many adventures. And I laugh. Because it keeps my hormone levels, if you get into science, here we go, your dopamine, serotonin, and endorphin levels, it elevates them, so that even though you may walk through heaviness in your life, maybe you have a lot of trauma that scares you, if you start laughing at the things you are afraid of and step into it and learn what it is that you think you are afraid to face, you all of a sudden you have nothing to fear because you understand it. So you work and you're believing the paradox and the narratives of, oh, there's all this really weird, scary stuff out there. Okay, well, that's somebody else's experience. What would you like your experience to be? Because what you believe is what you shape, you create. Placebo, look it up. What you believe is what you will bring towards you. So laughing and being happy and not having fear is the best way to start. No fear.
Thank you, Pat. That was lovely. Would you like to say anything, Paula, before you go?
Thank you, Pat, for sticking another piece into my puzzle there. I just went ting. Thank you. And thank you, Ronnie, for having me on. And just anyone that's listening, just jump, just do it. You've got nothing to lose.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. And from Mark, I'm just going to ditto to what Pat said, really. Just have a play with it. Don't be afraid. Even if you think it's your imagination, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, it doesn't matter. You will find out. You won't know until you take that first jump, because until you get feedback, as the horses ask for feedback, as they want to hear the feedback, to feel the feedback, you won't know. And you've just got to be brave and take that first jump. We both know this lady, Anise. Thank you for this session. This has really helped me to make the decision to ask Pat to work with my horse. Oh, so that I'm pleased about that. I'm really pleased. That's good news. And brilliant conversation, ladies. Thank you. You are so welcome.
Yes.
So it's lovely to have people listening to and taking an interest. And you don't have to agree with everything that everybody said tonight. It's not about that. What it is about is just open your mind up and to start ask questions within yourself. And just to play around with it, because you have to start somewhere. And we're not perfect. And I certainly don't get it right with my own horse. I would love to do it more, but I have to put the work in. So just believe in yourself. So guys, I'm going to just pop you out. Just give a quick wave to everybody.
Bye.
Stay where you are, and I'll chat to you in a second. Thank you. Oh, that was amazing. So for those of you that joined at the beginning, I'm sorry if I just almost like leaped in. I thought I was on at 7:30 and it was actually 7. Thank goodness I just put my computer on. But that's live for you, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's not about being perfect. It's about sharing a conversation, enlightenment, a spark. And if something that you've heard tonight resonates with you, or it doesn't, but you'd like to look into it a bit more, Pat is open to having a conversation. If you want to send her an email, I will post her email and her details, which is, I think, at the bottom of this video anyway. But just, have fun with your horses and just take the plunge and start on your particular path on your energetic journey, where that's going to take you. Because I can promise you one thing, once you start, you won't go back. It doesn't matter how hard it is, you can't go back. You can't unlearn what you're relearning. It's relearning. Okay. Love to you all. Thank you. Really, really, really appreciate your support. It means the world. But it means the world to my guests too, because they do this in, out of their time. They join and they genuinely want to share their knowledge with you guys. So take care. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you, and I will chat to you soon. Oh, and I've got some exciting things coming up, by the way, which I'm not going to say now because we've been on about an hour and 40, but stay tuned. Exciting things. Take care and bye for now.